Well, we aren't rebuilding, according to Matt LaFleur. So let's go. We're going to the Super Bowl again. Yay! Yay. Hello folks, today I'll be discussing a preview of the 2022 Packers offseason. And what we do in this video is making some predictions and how the Packers are going to deal with the cap space, Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, trade talks, staying, leaving. We'll discuss that too. And we'll talk about this past regular season where the Packers finished and how well they did. So to start things off, we will go to the regular season. The Packers finished 13-4 for the number one seed in the NFC. Pretty great to win the division, to win the NFC North 3 years in a row and get the number one seed. Now, the disappointing part was they lost in the first round of their playoffs against the San Francisco 49ers, 13-10 on a game-winning field goal by Robbie Gould. Well, the good thing from that, the only really good thing I'll say from that, was the defense. The defense played spectacular out there, and Rashawn Gary did well. But the disappointing part from that game was the special teams and the offense. Special teams allowed 13 points if you want to look at blocked field goal of what happened when they were trying to kick it right at halftime, get blocked punt, Deebo Samuel gets a big return, and another field goals. It kept going on and on. Now, if special teams play their game right, we might have won the game if Rodgers and the offense finally got a click, and they were getting clicking on the first drive and then they just didn't score the rest of the game really. It's annoying to watch them lose the past 3 years from the NFC Championship, the first 2 years, and now the division round. And now we go into this offseason bearing to see what will happen with the Packers. So with the Packers right now, they are going to have to make difficult decisions with their guys because they are over the cap space, and we have to see what happens with Aaron Rodgers, if he's going to stay or go, and Devontae Adams. So the biggest question coming into the offseason is, will Aaron Rodgers stay or leave? Now, he has 3 options. His options are stay, leave, or retire. Now, watching the Pat McAfee show the other day, he mentioned he's not going to pull Brett Favre like when Brett Favre retired and then he went to go play the next year to go to the Minnesota Vikings. Rodgers will not do that, he mentioned, and he might do his decision on the Pat McAfee show of doing a LeBron James decision where basically everyone is watching with their eyes on the television waiting to see a college announcement basically of a player picking where they're choosing to go decide. Let's hope Rodgers chooses the Packers. He also mentioned in the show he's making his decision sooner rather than later. He mentioned it before that he was going to make the decision before free agency, which starts on March 16, but he said he's going to do it sooner, so I'd be thinking maybe the end of the February towards the start of March of the first week. That's what I'm thinking his decision will come in. And Rodgers also mentioned he doesn't want to be in a rebuild. He wants no part in that, like Devontae Adams. They want no part in rebuild. They want to win, and they want to be competing for Super Bowls and playoffs, and they want to be competing at a high level and not just wasting their years. They don't want to do that. So now let's look at the options. As we mentioned before, he can retire, leave, or stay. We'll look at the retirement part first. So if Rodgers retires, he goes out playing for one team his entire career, and not many players have done that. If you look at every sport, not many players have done that. The most recognizable one, I will say, is Kobe Bryant. He played his entire career with the Lakers. Eli Manning played for the Giants his entire career. Ben Roethlisberger, who just retired. So there's many guys that you don't see in general sports that play for one team because they either get cut or traded every year. And it's very rare for someone to stay with their team and keep grinding with them. And that's pretty amazing to see Rodgers do that if he retires like that. And I'll be happy if he retires. I'm not going to be upset that much. I'll be a little sad. I wish he played more, but I'd be happy for him. Also, with Rodgers retiring, the Packers take less of a cap hit than they're going to if they stay, trade Rodgers. So it saves the Packers some money. It's still going to hurt them because they're going to get some damage in that process with the cap space. So now let's look at Rodgers leaving. Then he's going to get traded most likely. Likely scenario is going to be the Denver Broncos because the Denver Broncos hired the Packers offensive coordinator, Nathan Hackett, and they're trying to get more guys from the Packers coaching staff to come join Hackett in Denver. And the Denver Broncos have been eyeing for Rodgers since last offseason when the drama of Rodgers all started, when he didn't want to play with the Packers and he was just frustrated with them, as a reported from Adam Schefter on draft day. So the way I see if the Packers going to trade Rodgers, most likely to the Denver Broncos, if I had to guess, is you have to trade multiple first-round picks, at least 2 to 3 first-round picks, maybe second-day round picks I could see. And I would like a player in that process too. So if I were doing it, I would probably do 2 first-rounders, get a starter from the Broncos, either Bradley Chubb, Justin Simmons, somebody good on the Broncos, or Cortland Sutton for a deep threat, and you take that in and you get some money too from that, and you take some day 2 draft picks, and you're set for the future if you want to trade Rodgers. So if the Packers trade Rodgers, they significantly help themselves for the future and getting some draft picks for the future and help the franchise keep going with Jordan Love as a QB. But I hope he doesn't get traded. I don't. I love this QB. He's been my favorite football player of all time, and I just hope he stays. I don't want him to get traded. I will not get upset really that much. I hope he stays. But it's just going to be sad to see him leave if he does go. It's going to be sad to see him knowing what he's done for this franchise, help him win a Super Bowl, help them get to the playoffs almost every year, won 4 MVPs with us. Just spectacular what he's done. Now let's look if he stays, which I hope he stays. I hope he stays. The way I see Rodgers staying is if he takes a restructured contract, takes less money in his contract, or if he extends. Now, this is what Russ Ball and Brian Gutekunst have to do, is figure out how are they going to keep Rodgers and take less of a cap hit, because he's projected to get a significant amount of cap hit on the Packers cap space. So that's going to be some issues. Right here, we'll show you some of Rodgers' details of what will happen. I found on Twitter about what would happen if Rodgers stays and what that cap hit is going to look like. With the Packers, if they sign Rodgers again, which he's still under contract for 1 more year, if he decides to stay, they have to do something significant and they got to make an improvement, because if they don't, he's done with Green Bay. So one of Rodgers' deciding factors is if Davante Adams will re-sign with the Packers. Now, with Davante Adams, it's been rumors from Ian Rappaport and Adam Schefter that he might want to sign the franchise tag. Now, I know this, and every NFL player does not like the franchise tag. They don't like it at all. They want an extension and a commitment from their team for the future. They want that commitment. With Davante Adams, they have to pay him a lot of money because he wants to be the highest paid player with $30 million per year he wants. If they want to do that, it's going to take some heavy convincing for the Packers front office to stay with him. I don't think the Packers can afford it, really. I don't. The only way I see him staying is if they sign the franchise tag for 1 more year. If the Packers want to extend him, they're going to have to be very careful of how they want to spend the money. They have to be very careful with the cap space since they're over the cap. They have to be careful, and they have to re-sign him before free agency and have the cap space at 0 or above 0 if they want to keep him. Now, some of the ways the Packers have done this in previous years with players is do bonus contracts or incentives is what they've done. Use some of that money to convert to bonuses and save the Packers a little bit of money. So Davante Adams wants no part in the rebuild at all. As I mentioned before, he wants to competing like Rodgers. And there were talks in the summer that Davante Adams was going to get an extension and they were going to be happy and all of that. And then it broke up in the summer and the talks ended. And now the Packers going right back to Davante Adams and going to talk with him. So Packers, they got to take care. If they want to keep Rodgers, they got to keep Davante Adams. It's the key. And if Rodgers stays, Davante Adams is going to come back. So it's vice versa. If one of them stays, then they both come in. It's basically a commitment for 2 players. If the Packers can do that, then they're good. Now, if Adams stays and Rodgers leaves, I would love that because he could help Jordan Love out and develop with him and create some chemistry that you saw when Jordan Love was playing against the Chiefs. And you saw some throws that were to Davante Adams that were good and some that were overthrown. So that would help. I would love Davante Adams to stick around. We have to see what happens with that. I hope he stays. I really want them to stay, but it might not happen. I hope he stays though. So now what we're talking about so far in this video is the cap space for the Packers. They're $40 million over the cap space. That's not good. They're the second worst in the league with the cap space. So now you're forced to cut some guys, some key players that were great on the squad for the Packers this past season. And there's some key free agents that they might not be able to re-sign. So some key free agents that are upcoming for the Packers are Davante Adams, as we mentioned before, Kevin King, he's not staying. We all know that. Robert Tonyan, the Packers tight end, and Alan Lazard, Yosh Neiman, and Devontae Campbell, Rasul Douglas, Corey Bojorquez, the Packers punter, and MVS, the deep threat for the Packers. So now the Packers are going to have to make some difficult decisions and cut some guys that are under contract and restructure some deals if they want to keep some guys. Now, the way I would handle this, and you guys can decide how you want to in the comments and how you think about this, the way I would do this is restructure some guys and extend some guys. So I would restructure Kenny Clark's deal, Aaron Jones's deal. I know people question, why do they keep Aaron Jones? Why do they want to keep him for that? Matt LaFleur likes to do a too heavy running back. He likes to have A.J. Dillon, who's described as Derrick Henry, and they want Aaron Jones, who plays like a Christian McCaffrey and Alvin Kamara. Because when you have these two running backs, you could have A.J. Dillon in the backfield and have be your bulldozer, and then you have Aaron Jones out wide. You can make some creative plays with that, and that would help the Packers' run game out because their run game is pretty good. So with these two, it gives the Packers more edge of the running game, and then they have the receivers, so it gives the Packers more ideas and creative abilities to do with moving their pawns or queens or whatever in chess. I would extend Rodgers if you want to keep him. If they're going to keep him, as I mentioned before, you have to extend him. And you have to extend him to a commitment at least 2 to 3 years more because he's already under contract. So a 2-year or a 3-year extension, that would help the Packers out. But you have to be careful of how you want to do, as we mentioned before, with the cap space and how you want to align so he doesn't take a massive cap hit. That's something you have to watch out for. I would also resign Davante Adams. I would do a franchise tag, but I know he won't do that, so I would do a 2 to 3 year commitment with him to see, and we have to negotiate on the pricing for him because it's going to be very difficult for Davante Adams to stay because he wants to be the highest paid receiver, and that's difficult with the amount of money the Packers have with them. So that's a very difficult decision if they're going to keep him. I would also want to resign the 2 guys the Packers had, Devontae Campbell, the Packers linebacker, and Rasul Douglas, baby. Those 2 guys, easiest pickups I've ever seen for the Packers in the market, just sitting out there. Rasul Douglas picked up off the Cardinals practice squad, and Devontae Campbell just sitting there in the market. Just picked up. Devontae Campbell became an all-pro linebacker, and Rasul was clutch. Now, I would definitely want to keep Rasul. In Rasul Douglas's press conference, he mentioned all he wants the Packers to do is just ask him to come back. The Packers ask him to come back, he's coming back. That's all he wants. And now reporters were asking oh, do you want more money, or do you think the money will make a difference? And he says, just a little bit, not much, but he would still want to be with the Packers. So that's good news for the Packers that he's not demanding a high amount of money. So that's good for the Packers to help if they want to keep him. And if the Packers keep Rasul, look at that secondary for the Packers. You have Rasul Douglas, Eric Stokes, and Jair Alexander, and then you have the safeties with Darnell Savage, and you have Adrian Amos. Just look at that secondary for a moment. That's just giving me some chills there. That's giving me some chills because that's a great secondary. And you look at this past season, how well they did with Jerry Gray as a secondary coach for the Packers. He helped the Packers elevate that secondary, and it was fantastic. You can go watch that, and it was amazing. So that was something I love, and I hope the Packers keep him. Now, with Devontae Campbell, it's going to be difficult, and I don't think the Packers are going to keep him. I wish they keep him, but I don't think he's going to get it because he's going to probably get a bigger contract with other teams, and he's going to be a high demand and risk for the Packers to resign. But I hope they do. I hope they do, but I don't think it's going to happen. I wish they did, but they don't. And I would extend Jair Alexander because he deserves it, and he's one of the best cornerbacks in the league. He's one of the best. And with keeping him around, you rarely find that much talent with the CBs that are elite, like Jalen Ramsey or Tre'Davious White. Just looking at those guys, it's very rare for you guys, and you have to keep them because it's easier to find wide receiver elite than CB, because CB is hard to find of elite talent. It's very hard. And you can look at the Packers draft history when they were trying to go after the secondary of issues, and they finally got it after some guys. Like you had tried to get Kevin King, and Kevin King was great for some years, but he always got injured. And then last year with the NFC Championship game, Kevin King was great up until that NFC Championship game. And now with Jair Alexander, if they keep him, then the Packers are set with their CBs. That would be great for the Packers. So now let's look into the draft coming up in April. The Packers hold the 28th overall pick, their first round pick. The needs for the Packers, I would say, is wide receiver because you have nobody. You honestly have nobody besides Amari Rodgers and some of the practice squad guys, because all of the receivers the Packers had, MVS, Devontae Adams, Allen Lazard, Robert Big Bob Tonyan, all those guys are free agents. All of them. And the Packers are not going to be able to keep all of them. They're going to have to make difficult decisions and let go some key guys. I would love the Packers to keep Allen Lazard because he was great on third downs. But I think the Packers definitely need wide receiver. Even first round, I think they need to take a wide receiver in the first round finally. Because when the Packers took all those receivers a couple years ago in those mid-round picks, you saw the Packers have it, and then most of them didn't work out. You had MVS, he was the best one out of that. You had Equanimeous St. Brown, the older brother of Amon St. Brown. I wish we had him on, but we didn't. And so with the Packers, they got to fix the wide receiver position, no matter what it looks like. If the Packers keep or let go of some wide receivers, they have to address it in the draft. They have to. And I think the first round they're going to do that. And defensive line is another issue I think the Packers need to address, because Kenny Clark has been helping that defensive line out, and he needs help because he keeps getting double teamed and he's somehow still getting through it, but he needs help on that defensive line. Because we've looked over these past few years, the Packers' run defense has been great. This past season, it was okay, and it did a great job against the Niners in the run game. It did a great job of that. So I think they need to help Kenny Clark out on the line, because if you help him out, then boom, you're going to be forced to see who's coming from where. Preston, if he stays, Rashawn Gary coming off the outside, Kenny Clark coming right up the middle. It's going to create some more pressure on the QBs that opposing teams are going to have to face against the Packers. And that's going to be a deciding factor. So I think the Packers need to address the defensive line and help out stopping the run game. And I think it will help the Packers out very much. And my one other issue I think the Packers need to address is a linebacker. Depending on what happens with Devontae Campbell, the Packers need to address linebacker, because they've not addressed linebacker since A.J. Hawk was a Packer. Packers have not addressed it and nor cared about the linebacker position until this past season when they picked up Devontae Campbell. So if the Packers stay and keep Devontae Campbell, hopefully, which I don't think will happen, but I hope it does happen. And if the Packers do it, then they set themselves up with one of the best tacklers in the league. And if you get another guy or help re-sign Chris Barnes, then boom. Packers linebackers are great. This past season was the first time I saw the linebackers actually do good for the Packers. Since the Super Bowl and A.J. Hawk, it's finally escalated for the Packers and helped that with the new defensive coordinator, Joe Barry, who I give props to. I give him praise because he took this defense, struggled in the playoffs, and he helped them out. He helped the Packers escalate, and they did significant greatness. He did amazing with that, and I would keep him again. Those are my draft needs, I would say, for the Packers in this upcoming draft that's going to happen. Packers got to address those needs, because if they don't, it's not going to work out. They're not going to compete. They're not going to be great. That's the issue for the Packers, and they got to address that. So now, we mentioned before with Aaron Rodgers, if he left, and Jordan Love would become the starter. Let's talk about him for a second. Jordan Love could be the starter for 2022. And not many Packer fans want that. They want Aaron Rodgers. But if they have Jordan Love, he's only played one game, really. He's started one game, and he did okay for a rookie QB. Now, I know fans already calling him a buzz, but you can't, judge a player for the 3 years, and he's been with the Packers for 3 years, but you need to see his playing. You don't have much of a data sample with him just playing one game. One game does not mean anything of a QB starting. It could be Jared Goff having the greatest game of his life, and people will think he's the next Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes. You can't judge a player on that. You have to give him some time and watch what he does in those games. If you see him, most QBs last for a season this rate or two. That's what's happened in recent years with the NFL. And now with Jordan Love, if he comes into play, there's some good things I loved about him with his pocket awareness, but there's some things I didn't like about him. So now looking back to that Chiefs game for a second, there were pros and cons in his game. He was great in his pocket awareness. He was terrible in throwing to his guys and being on target with them. So there was some key things I liked about Jordan Love and some things I didn't like about Jordan Love. You have to see more of the sample. You have to see what he will do well and what he won't do well in these next couple games if he starts in 2022. And so he's learned under Rodgers his years on the bench when he's came in since 2020. This is like the Rodgers Brett Favre era, where Rodgers sat on the bench 3 years and watched Brett Favre, who was one of the best at that time, play great. And then you had the difficult decision where Rodgers comes in and he plays. Now, when Rodgers started out, he didn't play great. He went 4-12 in his first season. Not many people thought it was going to happen. So that is what happens when you don't trust the backups, which we never know what's going to happen with the backups. We never know what's going to happen in the NFL. We don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. With Jordan Love, he's coming in, he's learning under Rodgers. Another quick thing to mention, Bart Starr, the Packers' first great QB for the Packers, he sat under the bench for 5 years. 5 years. And then he came in and he won championships with Vince Lombardi. I guess it's sitting on the bench works for the Packers. Packers QBs, you sit on the bench, learn under the greats, and then shine when it's your turn. Shine. My bold take, I'm going to say this right now. I'm predicting the Green Bay Packers are going to win the NFC North division and go to the playoffs if Jordan Love starts with the Packers. That's my bold take. The reasons why I think that, no matter what happens in free agency, if they don't keep some of the key guys that they had to make. You look at the other teams in this NFC North division, the Lions, Bears, Vikings. All of them are going through new coaches and new GMs, and some of them are in rebuild, like the Lions. They're the Lions, sadly, Lions. I'm sorry, Lion fans, but we know what's happened with the Lions. They haven't done well. And look at the Bears. The Bears haven't done well, but they think they found their QB successor in Justin Fields. Which Justin Fields did show some promise, a little of his running skills. That's the person you have to watch out for. But the Bears in general as a whole team, they were not great. And they're going through some new coaching and have to figure it out. They're going to have to be figuring out what the heck happens in the season when they're just trying to learn under the new coaching staff. So that's going to take the Bears some time in the process. And then you go look at the Vikings. They're doing the same exact thing. And Kirk Cousins, he might not be the QB. There's been rumors that he might go to Pittsburgh, Steeler Nation. He might go to Pittsburgh Nation. We don't know what's going to happen with the Bears and the Vikings of how they do well. But I think the Packers will do well. Not fantastic like Super Bowl contenders, but maybe at least playoff contender-wise. At least that bar. I think they're at least a first round or a second round, wild card division round at best if Jordan Love plays for this year. I think that's the chance. Packers have one of the best coaching staffs in the league. They have the defensive coordinator, Joe Barry, Jerry Grady, secondaries coach. They have a great coaching staff, and on the offensive scheme, you lost Hackett, but he was great, and the offensive lineman for the Packers. Those guys were great for the Packers. So the Packers still have great coaching on their staff. They have Matt LaFleur. And Matt LaFleur has done a fantastic job with the Packers. Despite the playoff results, you cannot give him credit for what he's done for his Packer franchise. He's taken the Packers to an NFC Championship twice and to the playoffs all 3 years and finished 13-3 at least for all 3 years. So that's fantastic on Matt LaFleur's part. I hope he wins Coach of the Year, which I don't think he will, but you have to give him some praise for what he's done for the Packers. Now, with Matt LaFleur, he's very creative in helping with Jordan Love out. He knows what to do with Jordan Love. He's seen what Jordan Love can do, and he's going to use his abilities of his strengths and help his weaknesses out and not show them. I just think the Packers have it. I think they're going to win the division. I'm calling that, as I mentioned before. I'm calling it right now. They're winning the division. This was a great season of watching with the Packers. It was fantastic. Watching them, seeing all defense do amazing, the offense do great, and then just coming up short. It was disappointing. It was disappointing for them not to win the first round against the San Francisco 49ers. It was very disappointing. I wish they went to the Super Bowl and won. I wish that happened. But it was great to watching this team, and I always will love this team. I will be a Packers fan till I die, and I will love them. No matter if they win or lose, I will always still be a fan of the Packers. Now, there'll be some rough times when they lose, like when they just lost the Niners and the NFC Championships and all those playoff losses. It will be rough times, but you get over it. You move on from it, and you hope for the best for the Packers to do better. That's what we can hope for as a fan, and you hope it happens. If this was Rodgers' last season, last game of the Packers, I thank him for all he's done with the Packer Nation. I thank him for win the Super Bowl, coming into this franchise and help escalating what Brett Favre changed this franchise organization around. Rodgers has helped it go sky high, and he's done it well. So I love Rodgers. I hope he stays, but we'll see what happens. But that is it for my video. I hope you guys liked it. Hit the like button on this video. Subscribe to the channel. We are so close to getting 150 subscribers. And I'd like to thank subscribers once again and the people watching this for listening in and helping this channel out. My last video, we were at 92 subscribers. We were at 149 and our views have gone so much high. So I thank you guys. I thank you guys for tuning in and helping this channel grow. And soon we will be doing more videos like this, and we'll be doing some live streams. Hopefully I'll be streaming the Super Bowl 5 times to do that. I love what you guys have done. I love the engagement on the comments and just talking with me. I love that. So I hope you guys enjoy it. I appreciate you guys tuning in, and leave your comments. I'd like to hear your comments as I just mentioned. Leave your comments of what you think about the Packers offseason. What do you think is going to happen? Do you think Rodgers is going to leave, stay, retire? And so that's a wrap in the studio. I hope you guys enjoyed it once again. Go Pack Go.